Today we're going to talk about 6 poses to help you build your Chaturanga. So let's begin. First pose is going to be to help open up your shoulders and your triceps. You're going to come into child's pose, and for this I recommend having 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, you can also use some thicker textbooks if you have any lying around from your school days or any kind of a thick book. But you can also do this without blocks. Blocks are just, I find, helpful to have, but you're always welcome to try without blocks. I'll give you options for both. So you're going to come into child's pose, and it's going to be a variation of child's pose where you come onto the backs of your elbows. And how far your elbows are out away from you is up to you. I want you to still be able to get your forehead down onto the mat. So the center of your forehead, the space between your eyebrows, comes down to the mat, and you can wiggle your elbows further forward from there. Bring your palms together and bring your thumbs towards the base of your neck, the back of your skull. You want to make sure your elbows are nice and tight towards the sides of your head as well. You don't want them to splay out. And this is going to give you a really nice stretch in the back of your arm, right into the side body. Your lats, your shoulders are definitely going to open up here. You also have the option to go deeper in the stretch if you're not feeling much in that variation, by using the blocks here as a prop underneath your elbows, right? And again, make sure your forehead can come to the mat. And then just settle into this pose and take a few breaths. Beautiful. If you're on blocks, gently release your hands and move the blocks away. And then from your child's pose, come up onto hands and knees and work your way down onto your belly. Right, so that's the first pose. Pose 2 and 3 are kind of a combination. We're going to work towards Sphinx pose. So you're going to bring your elbows right underneath your shoulders. What's important here, especially keeping Chaturanga in mind, is to get really comfortable with what a 90-degree bend feels like in your elbows. So having your shoulders stacked right over top of your elbows is important here. And having your hands face down on your mat so that your forearms and hands kind of mimic the number 11. They're parallel to one another. Right? Sometimes people like to interlace their fingers here. For the purposes of today and working with the 90-degree bend, keep your hands your forearms straight and parallel to one another. Right, draw your collarbones back, let your legs get heavy, let your pelvis get heavy into the mat, and feel a bit of spinal extension. You feel a little bit of a stretch through your abdomen as well, opening up your front body. And then to help engage our core, to help activate the core strength, and again, continue to get used to the 90-degree bend of the elbows, we're going to work towards a forearm plank here. So curl your toes under, press your heels back so that your kneecaps lift and your thighs engage. Take an inhale, lift your heart forward. As you exhale, look down, peel your belly, your hips, your thighs up off the mat and press the floor away with your forearms. You're pressing down so much that your shoulder blades separate, and you might feel quite a bit of shaking in your abdomen and midsection. Take a breath. And then slowly lower back to Sphinx. Point your toes, pull your heart forward, stretch your belly, and keep pressing the floor away with your elbows. Right? So you never want to sink into the ground. You want to use the ground as leverage to lift up and away. Right? Feeling that upward energy from the ground up. We'll do that again. Curl your toes under. Right? Straighten your legs, press your heels back, kneecaps lift. And then take an inhale, lift your heart forward. Exhale to start to round, curl, press the floor away. And really squeeze your glutes here. Try not to look back at your feet. Keep the back of your neck long. Your eyes are just down between your hands, between your thumbs. Protract your shoulder blades. Squeeze belly to spine. Right? Strong through the legs, take a breath. And exhale to lower. Find a bit of rest. Notice how I move through these two shapes without changing any of the foundational alignment in my forearms and elbows. Right? They stay the same. For the purposes of this video, we'll do one more, but you can do this as many times as you need at home. And you can hold for longer as well if you really want. Right? The longer you hold it, the more you practice it, the more strength you're going to build, right? So toes curl under, kneecaps lift. Take an inhale, exhale to come in. 5 breaths. Stay relaxed through your neck. You can nod your head yes and no a couple times. Wiggle your jaw, lick your lips. Keep a neutral facial expression. One more inhale. Exhale to lower. 5 breaths in Sphinx pose. If you feel compression in your low back, take your feet a little wider. And from here, come down onto your belly. Send your hands back beside you. Bring your forehead to your mat. Turn your palms so they face down and reach your feet back 1 foot at a time. Try to really stretch back so that your legs are really straight and long. I'm just lifting my head here so that you can hear me when I chat. But for you, I want to have your forehead down on your mat and feel that length that creates in the back of your neck. From there, squeeze your shoulder blades together. We're going to work towards locust pose. And this is really helpful for strengthening your back body. When you lower from plank to Chaturanga, you're using a lot of your back body strength to hold yourself there, to pull yourself to the mat. It's important to learn how to engage your back body muscles. On your inhale, go ahead and lift your legs, lift your arms way up off the mat. Lift your head and heart up off the mat. So again, to concentrate on your back muscles and your lats, spread your fingers wide, almost like your pinky fingers trying to run away from the rest of your hand. You can take your arms out a little wider, almost like they were airplane wings. And try to lift your hands a little higher than your shoulders to engage those back muscles. Find your breath here. Good. Slowly lower. Turn one cheek to the mat and flip your palms up to the sky. And just kind of rest. Wiggle through your hips. You can take a few deep breaths here into your back body, the back of your heart, your low back. And bring your forehead back to center. We'll do one more time. Turn your palms face down. Reach your legs back, feet back, one at a time. And you're pressing the tops of your feet down so much that your kneecaps are already lifted and your thighs are already engaged. Then on your inhale, lift everything up again. Right? You can squeeze your feet together, keep them apart. My focus for you today is to really focus on the hands, lifting your arms up, engaging your back body muscles. And take 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Lower on your exhale. Turn your opposite cheek to the mat. Turn your palms face up and rest. You can let your heels fall out towards the sides. And breathe. Okay, so that was 4 poses. That was pose number 4. We have 2 more. The 5th one, you're going to bring your forehead to your mat and bring your hands by your sides like you were preparing for a push-up, right? So one thing to make sure here as you prepare for your push-up is you want to think about the 90-degree angle that you had in your elbows in Sphinx pose and forearm plank. You want to feel and look left and right and make sure that your shoulder or your elbows are right over top of your wrist creases. So you don't want your hands to be up here. That's going to be kind of impossible to push up. You don't want them to be so far back that you can't get your whole palm down, right? So find that space just behind your shoulders. They can really get a good press. And even without lifting, as you press down into the mat, you should feel your triceps, the backs of your arms start to engage. So from here, you're going to bring your forehead to your mat. Curl your toes under like we've already done so that your kneecaps lift and your thighs engage. And then take an inhale to draw your belly in. And as you exhale, you're going to try to lift just 1 inch off the mat. Just an inch or two, and keep a straight line from your heels to the crown of your head. Lower, release. Right? It's a lot harder than it looks. You can do this from your knees, right? The trick is to not lift your chest first and then your hips so that you're sagging. You want to lift everything together at the same time, right? So your body is one unit. Make sense? So give that a few tries. Why I want you to work on this, lifting just 1 inch off the ground, is it's going to tell you a few things. One, when you're getting into arm balance poses and handstands, you're putting weight into your hands, but there's a pushing away that's really required. That's upward energy riding up your arms as you push the floor away. You're resisting collapsing into the floor, right? And that's an important thing to learn. The other thing about this 1 inch lift is it's going to tell you where you're at in terms of strength, right? If you're unable to do this with your knees off the ground, that's going to tell you that when you're doing it the reverse way, say from plank pose, that instead of lowering like this, right, it's going to be helpful for you to use your knees so that you can create that straight line and you build more strength. If you're in plank, keeping your knees lifted, and your hips are sinking to the mat before your chest does, you're missing out on a lot of the foundational core strength required. And the last one is, again, another way to help strengthen your back body. You're going to bring your blocks into the picture if you have them. You can do this without blocks too, right? For me, I have longer arms, so I don't need blocks. I can place my hands down with relative ease. But some people who might have longer torsos or shorter arms, it might feel hard to get your palms down with and feel grounded through your hands. So that's where you would bring blocks or books underneath your hands and just build the floor up for you. So this one, you're going to just flex your feet, right? Spread your toes. You're sitting up nice and tall. If you feel like your hips are rolling backwards and your spine is rounding naturally, I encourage you to sit up on, say, a blanket, or if you're at home, a pillow underneath you, something to prop your sit bones up a little higher, and allow you to sit a little taller. If you're like me and you have tight hamstrings, a little bit of a bend in your knees is totally fine here too. What you want to look for is, as you press your hands down into your blocks or into your mat, is a straight spine. Feel your low back press in and up, collarbones broad and shoulder blades squeeze. Every part of me that's connected to the mat is actively pushing down, and then I'm just breathing, right? So you're kind of going for that perfect L shape and the perfect curve, that perfect S curve in your spine, right? Which is so important. And this doesn't look like much, but as you really focus on engaging your thighs, flexing your feet, drawing your belly in, you'll feel the muscles around your spine really strengthen and work. This one's really good for back strength. Close your eyes, take 3 more breaths. And then soften and relax. And you can wiggle out a little bit through your legs, shake your wrists out a bit. So that's kind of what I have for you there. Those are 6 poses that you can practice and work on to help strengthen your Chaturanga. And yeah, happy practicing. Do your best and be patient. Work with where you're at. Yoga is a lifelong journey. There's no rush. You're not here to accomplish, you're here to feel. Thank you very much.